As quilters, if you give us fabric, we'll find a way to use it, and not always in the way that you think. And I have some ideas just like that to share with you today. I'm Lea Louise from Inspired Quilting by Lea Louise, and what if I showed you a way to transform all your fabric scraps into beautiful, festive Christmas ornaments? Your tree would be filled with one-of-a-kind ornaments that everyone will admire and love, and you can even gift a few of them. But before we even think about that, let's get them made. Let me show you how to make them. They are so easy. You're going to love this. It's time to switch out my fall fabrics. I've had a lot of fun. You remember this? Oh my goodness, these turned out so pretty. I love the mega hot pad and the small hot pads, which are also mug rugs. They're wonderful. And what I'm going to do now is put these fabrics aside. Oh, I need some of these greens. I'm going to take those for my Christmas. And get my Christmas basket of fabric out and see what we can come up with there. Ooh, there's a good number of green pieces. Okay, so as I'm pulling green fabrics, I'm going to move this aside. Oh, I need to show you this. Did you see this quilt? This is a free quilt pattern, by the way. And this is what I made with these fabrics. These fabrics were left over from this quilt, and I love it. This is the inside out. It's my all blocked in pattern. I'll put a link up above, and you can download the pattern, but I love it because it has these accent stripes. And while I used green here, this blue would look gorgeous too, just like I did in these pieces. So, you know, putting an accent in just makes such a difference in whatever you're making. But I will go ahead and put this. I put a link down below. How's that? I'll put a link down below. It's called All Blocked In, so you can get that. It's a free pattern if you don't already have it. But look at all these wonderful fabrics. So I'm going to be going back and doing some more quilting with some of these, and I'll show you what I get. But I've used a lot of my fabrics that I have. Oh, look, more green. Yay. Okay, we're holding that out too. So anything with green is going in the Christmas bundle, and put it in this basket for fall. And then let me show you what I have for my Christmas fabrics. I can't believe there's still fabrics left. Oh my gosh, I have used so many scraps. But let me pull that in and show you. So now let me show you my Christmas basket of fabric. I don't know why it's so full. I have been quilting for weeks and weeks out of this. Now, you remember this piece. I'll set that aside. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I have charm squares. When I've cut my fabrics that I'm using, I set aside charm squares when I can, and that's going to be a Christmas quilt of sorts at some point. So these are all pieces of yardage, and there's still a lot going on here that I can use. And I have scraps, and I have all kinds of pieces, plus these that I just pulled out. And we are going to take all these scraps and make some fabulous, festive, quilted Christmas ornaments. Oh my goodness, they are going to be wonderful. And whether you make them little to put on a gift, or hang them on a doorknob, or put them on the tree, or decorate your table setting, there's going to be a ton that we can do with this. So I am so excited to share this with you. And you remember, this is what the fabric's left over from. We did this set. Let's see. Oh, and look, I still have these pieces. That's right. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So these sort of all go together. Let's see. I need to figure this out. So these are a set that I made that I really love. Again, all scrappy fabrics, and they're wonderful. And then these were jelly rolls, and I just took them and cut some in half and left the prints whole because I really like those. And I made some little mug rugs and some coasters, or a coffee mug. And it's just, you know, it works great. But these are the ones that I love. Whether you choose to go very simple and use large pieces, or go scrappy and add more to it, this is a lot of fun. Table runners, oh my goodness, they're beautiful for the holidays. It just sets such a festive note in your home. And let's see, I wanted to show you these as well. Look at these adorable little mug rugs. Oh my goodness, with Christmas trees. This is what gave me the idea for the ornaments. So let me show you what we're going to do. You remember, gosh, weeks ago now, we made Christmas fabric. We took all our Christmas scraps, sewed them together, and made this big, I think it was like 2 feet square. It was like 25 by 25 thereabouts. And I have used this to make all these other pieces, and there's still some left. So I'm going to take this, incorporate the other things that I have, and make some fun ornaments. Now, I used my steam-a-seam so that when I cut these, I have nice, sturdy, stable pieces. These are just scraps left over. What I'm going to do is come in and sew this seam here, and that will, I'll probably cut something over here, so I'll have a larger piece to do something else. I haven't quite decided, but that's kind of where we're heading, and I still have a Christmas tree left that I can do something with, and oh my goodness, there is so much to be done. And then look at this fabric. Look at all this. Oh my goodness, all these scraps and pieces. We've got a lot ahead of us, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to show you an easy way to make a pattern. Now, some folks just go ahead and draw it out and create a template, and that's wonderful, but not everybody's confident with that. So let me show you what I did. The first thing is I did a search online for Christmas tree outlines free. And then once the page came up, I clicked on images, and I get a page full of different Christmas tree options. And I just chose very simple ones like this, and then I copied and pasted them into a Word document and printed it. Now, alternatively, you can just take a piece of paper over your screen. So if you click on one of the images, double click on it, it'll come up bigger, and then you can trace it on paper. Just put paper right on your screen, and you should be able to see through it. And that works really well too. But I went ahead and printed these, but I want to show you, I made sure these were within 5 inches. And that way I can cut them out of either a charm square or small pieces of scraps. And what I do is I take an older pen because it's pretty much going to destroy the pen. So if you have any pens that the ink has run out of, save it. They're great for making patterns because this becomes a stylus and it works perfectly for making patterns. So we're just going to draw on our line, and you want to press pretty hard, and we want to make an indent into the cardboard below. And what I'm using is a charm square cardboard. So when you buy the charm squares, you get that piece of cardboard in the back. And this is from a layer cake right here. And so I'm just going to go around the whole thing and, hopefully stay in the lines as best I can. Okay, so I think I've got it all. Now, it doesn't look like much, but there is a faint indent in the cardboard. I can put my pen right in there, and it's going to follow that line. And it tends to want to stay right inside where I press the pen in. And let me do it this way here. I can't see it with the shadow from my hand. There we go, right there. And right here. So now if you were so inclined, see, I kind of missed that corner. You could come in with a Sharpie and draw over this so it's nice and thick like that. Or you can cut this out and paste it on there. But this is going to work beautifully. And so now the next thing I would do is just kind of put my 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I would cut it along this line here. Just like that. And then this is what I'm going to use for my pattern. Just like that. So I have that here already. I have my patterns that I'm going to use. There are so many different styles of Christmas trees. I like the straightforward. I wasn't particularly fond of some of the curvy ones because keep in mind we're using scraps. We want to be able to come in and, whoops, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Come in and cut it out easily, sew it easily, etc. So what I'm going to do before I get too carried away is set this up to transfer onto my cardboard. So I will kind of trim this down a little, and then I'm going to put this on the bottom edge because that's just one place that I'm not going to have to cut. So I'll put that there. Now, if you're more comfortable with a ruler, you can come in like this and draw your lines. It's definitely going to be worth taping. I didn't even think about bringing some tape here. Okay, I may have to pause and get some tape. Let me see how this works. And we'll put a line here. And again, press hard so that you get those indents into the cardboard, because that's going to help you draw your pattern. And then I'm going to come across here, and we'll put these lines in on each side. And there you go. So if you're looking at doing a lot of ornaments for not just your tree, but I like putting little ones on Christmas gifts. You know, use it as a packaging on the gift wrap. And that's always fun. And I have gifts that I send out of town, and it's fun to, you know, toss a couple ornaments in there. It just makes opening the package that much more interesting. Okay, so let me see. I can find it. I just want to make sure I wasn't talking too loud. Okay, here we go. I just need to turn it so I can see the light. Because when you cast some light on there, it creates a shadow over the crevice we just made. And your pen will want to stay in that crevice. That's what makes this so easy. And it takes just a minute, but then you've got a pattern that you know you like. And there we go. And this is the one I can't see very well, but I know it's going to kind of go from here to there. So I'll just take my ruler and go over that one. There we are. Okay, look at that. A beautiful little Christmas tree. And all I have to do now is come in, cut this out, and then I'm going to transfer it onto fabric. I really don't even, I mean, you can just use a marker or something to put it on your fabric, and then just make sure that you don't, sorry, I just think about the seam allowance, that you don't put the marker in a place where it's going to be seen. So I need to remember, I'm going to put an arrow here, a few of them, add seam allowance, because I should have lifted that up a 1/4 inch so I'd have my seam allowance, but that's okay. And then just take your old utility scissors that you use for crafts and cut it out, and then we're ready to go. So this is the first step. We want to create our patterns and decide just what we're going to come up with. And for me, a Christmas tree is sort of the standby of what I want to do, because a lot of what I've done so far this year is with the Christmas tree theme, and I just think it would be fun to carry that through and have little Christmas trees everywhere. Now, I'm not going to cut things to really sharp points, because it's so much easier when they're just a little bit rounded, and otherwise it can be a challenge to cut it out and to sew it. If you have that little bit of a curve in there, that works out well. So there we are. Okay, so get your patterns made and pull your fabrics together, and we are going to create some wonderful ornaments. There's one more quick pattern I want to show you, and this one I'm going to add this seam allowance. What I want to do is come from here down. And I like the dimension of this tree, so I'm going to want to come out to those points. And you've seen me do this before with the other trees. Just draw a triangle. You know, mark the top where you want it, mark how wide you want the base, and then just create your Christmas tree. Then we have all the patterns we need, and we're going to start making some ornaments. We'll go with the easiest ones first, because when you can do some quick and fast, oh, that's all kinds of incentive right there. Then you get those creative juices flowing, and you're getting inspired, and you're having ideas and thinking about all those fabrics that you have kind of stashed here and there, and the yardage maybe that you bought that you have. So pull everything out, everything, and we are going to get started. I'm having lots of fun going through these scraps, and I'm getting some terrific ideas. And I just wanted to share some with you because I think you'll appreciate just how easy it is to pull all this together. The first great find is a piece of green fabric that already has fusible fleece on it. There's a backing for one of my trees, and this piece of green is kind of fun. I think this would be good backing for my trees. So I'll kind of make the front a little more decorative and the back a solid. But how awesome is this? This would be great to do, and do it this way so these lines are horizontal. So I've got some backings. Then the other thing I'm doing is I'm pulling strips together. Oh, look at this. How fun would it be to have a white Christmas tree? Look at all these white fabrics. I'll just sew those strips together and make a tree out of that. So that's one project. And these are pieces from the quilt bag that I made for my Christmas quarter log cabin that's hanging up behind me. And I am really excited because these are pieces I can just take. Let me go ahead and pull these apart here, spread it out. And I can just sew these, side to side and cut them or leave them whole. I mean, I have lots of greens, like put a green like this here and something on that side. So this kind of a strip is perfect. And here's some sort of gold metallic foil on some green fabrics. But the other thing I'm looking at is putting stripes together. Or I should say strips, and making stripes, I guess is the word. And just kind of, put these in here and there and everywhere and just see what works. And, you've got some lights and darks, and here's some that are already sewn. And here's a pretty piece of holly. So when you're going through your scraps, take a look at, small pieces. And, oh, look, here we have some more. Here's another piece. And, oh, look, these are already sewn together. So I have some red and green, which will be perfect. And this has the gold foil on it. And here's another piece with some stripes. So I save everything. And we are going to create some really fun pieces here. Oh, this could be another quilt back. Actually, this would be pretty just to do a very plain tree with. Just cut one of those triangles out, and this is the tree. We're going to do some that are very easy like that, absolutely. And then I want to show you how to take the little pieces that are left over and make some cute little trees. All of it is just using up stuff and moving it along and making good use out of it and clearing out room because, after the first of the year, there's all kinds of new fabrics coming out. Spring will be here before you know it, and we have more quilting to do. But right now, we've got to get through this. I just had to start with these pretty white stripes. I think those are wonderful, and that's going to work out great. This will be a good backing. Put my backing down first, and then I'm going to put my pieced strips on top. And what I'm going to do is just draw my pattern. So there are two ways when you make your pattern. And this is with the seam allowance, so you can turn it. But I don't think I'm going to be doing very much of that. I think I am just going to be putting this on my fabric and then sewing straight on the line. So I'm going to show you what I'll do there. So I need to leave that 1/4 inch seam allowance here. And I'm going to take my marker. I'm going to draw a dot here and there so I can come back and draw a straight line. So I'm just going to follow my tree and follow the outline and just kind of do that here. And I guess I can draw a straight enough line, just like that. Now I'm going to want to do one this way as well, but I need to leave some extra room for seam allowance in there. And so I think this will work and go this way. And just kind of draw that in. I know I'm going fast and I'm getting marker everywhere except on the fabric. And it doesn't have to be precise because these are scrappy, and that just makes things so much easier. Okay, and then we can do one here. Make sure I have, oh, that's right, my fabric's over there. And leave enough room for my seam allowance here, as well as room in between my trees. So I'm going to get 3 nice little trees here, and I might even be able to come up with something right in that spot, but we'll take care of these first. Okay, here we are. All right, so I have my trees drawn. I'm just going to sew over that, and then I'll cut with a little bit of seam allowance to the outside. So I have my backing. I have a piece of just some leftover poly batting that I trimmed off the quilt sandwich after I was finished quilting. So I have some narrow strips, which will work well for this project. And I want to make sure everything is covered on all sides. I probably should base this. And what I'll do is I'm just going to put a couple pins here and there, and I'll do that at the machine. And then it's easy to cut. But I didn't think about the basting when I got the batting out, so we're winging it here. Oh, one other thing. I decided some 10-inch strips of ribbon would work out really well. So I have this little 1/8-inch satin ribbon, and then when I sew the top, I'm just going to insert these kind of in there so that they'll get caught in the seam as I sew it around. So that's going to work out well. Okay, I think I have everything I need. Let's go make some ornaments. The sewing on these were really easy, and I want to cut one out because I figured out when I cut the first one there are a couple little things that work, and one for me was to keep this outer edge or seam allowance thinner than wider. I didn't like it when it was thick because it just looked too heavy. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of come in and come over, being careful not to cut any of my ribbons. That's the other thing I want to show you is how I got that ribbon in there. So let's get up to this part here. So what I did when I was putting this together is I just took like I said, I'm using 10-inch lengths, fold it in half, and I tuck it in at the top of the tree. Now, the tricky part is when you get up there cutting it, or at least it was tricky for me. So I want to show you what I did. And the other thing is I did not make the corners around the trees particularly pointy. I kind of put a little bit of a curve on them, only because I didn't want, to have those sharp points. So, I'll come back in here and just sort of swing it around a little and do that. Now this I'm going to cut with my rotary, just so I get a nice straight edge, more or less. And then I can come in and touch it up with my scissors the way I want it. And so in this case, I'll just kind of take a little rounded edge there. And this one is a bit thick, so I'm going to trim that down and take a rounded edge there. Okay, so that's basically how I cut it out. Now, when I got up here, I got as close as I could without cutting into the ribbon. So I just kind of put my thumb over where the ribbon is, and I cut up to that point on each side. Then I pull this forward and the rest back because I only want to be able to cut this part, but you see we have to cut that other one off. Hold on. We need to cut this tree without destroying our ribbon. There we go. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just bring this forward, tuck this back, and hold it. So all I'm going to be cutting right now is right here. And I'm just going to kind of just make sure, yep, all right. Cut it off, and then I'll cut a nice little rounded point there on the top. Oh, I hadn't cut that side. No wonder it's not cutting for me. There we go. All right, now we have this all cut. We're just going to bring this forward and cut around it there. That's all we have to do. And we'll kind of trim that off so it's nice and even. We don't want anything poking out. And there you have it. So the top point, if you sew your ribbon in, can be a little fussy. Alternatively, what you can do is do it after the fact and either poke a hole through with a large-eyed needle, like a needlepoint needle, run it through and tie it, or you can put a button here and sew the button through the ribbon. So that's what we've got. So here's a pair of them. And I have a third one I just need to cut out. But aren't those wonderful? Oh my goodness, I think they are so precious. And this one's going to have a little bit different pattern because it was laid in upside down. But white Christmas trees. Okay, now we need some red ones and some green ones. Oh my goodness, there's still a lot more to go. I want to show you some of the ornaments that I've finished, and I also want to show you that you can use such an assortment of fabrics. Now this one is my pieced, my stash fabric. We made that a few weeks ago, and I just put a solid piece on the back. I happened to find some scraps of fusible fleece, which was awesome because it was just the right size. I could use that instead of batting. So again, use what you have, whatever it is. And every once in a while I find a corner I need to trim off. But, you know, this one I just had some charm squares, and that's what a lot of these are. It's just kind of a pretty, now that's not a Christmas print, but that's okay. I think it looks wonderful. And here's a fun piece with some text on it and some flowers and more flowers, which is fun. And I did this because I like the way the batik pattern sort of looked like a tree. And we've got a couple more here. These are pretty straightforward. I did some stars, but I wanted to show you that I cut most of it out until I get to this part here. And what I found worked well is go ahead and cut out as much as you can and then hold this piece back and just come in with your scissors and trim up here and just kind of get a good curve going there like that, okay? And then do the same on the back. And there we go. So that's just about the easiest way I found to do it. And then this is another star I just need to cut out. But if you don't want to use patterns, okay, I found a super easy way to do this. Oh, can I show you my scrap piece first? I just love this. I had this about 2.5-inch piece strip, but it wasn't very long. So I just folded it in half with some scrap pieces of batting in there, and I sewed it. And look at how absolutely adorable this is. And we'll do it this way. So all I did is I folded it and I measured on the bottom what width I had, and then I found the center up at the top and I drew a couple lines to get that point lined up so I knew where to sew. And look at, oh my goodness, that's just adorable. These are great if you want to put it on like a tag for a package, but if you use light fabric like this, you can write on this with either a fabric pen or a Sharpie, and I think that's adorable. But what I want to show you is the pattern-free method, and this worked out really, really well. You can see here how I did this. I think you can see the stitching. So I measured every 3 inches across. And then I went straight across here and I found the center. So that would have been the 1.5 inch. So I came up and I measured my center at 1.5 inches, and then I drew those triangles. And doing that, I have a tree here, and see how that worked? Then all I had to do is sew on each side of the line. Now, I did get a little close on a few of them, but that's okay. I'm just going to keep cutting, and this I'm going to cut in between. The thing that you don't want to forget as you're going along is to put your hangers in along the way. And see, look at that. Oh my gosh, that, whoops. Oh, see, this guy just lost his hanger. I can go back and fix that. Oh my goodness. So it mostly works. You just kind of have to make sure that you've got enough hanger space there. And this might be something else, and then come in and trim off the bottom so everything's nice and neat. But I really liked how this worked. Let's see if this one here works a little better. I just need to find, there's the stitches, okay. So right like that. Okay, there we go. This one stayed in there. So just, watch out for your hangers. And then after you're finished cutting them apart, just kind of trim off the top so they, have a bit of a finished edge, because some of these you can see how there's extra fabric, because I did not cut them exactly the same size. They were kind of a little, I kept the back longer so I knew as I sewed I wouldn't lose any of it. And so let me just go ahead. There we go. But these are wonderful, and they're such fun. And this is a great, easy way. Like I say, just make sure you don't lose your hangers, because that's going to create a little difficulty. All I have to do now is go back and sew that other one on, and we can make that work. But there you go. So here are some wonderful ornaments that you can make, and you can go from super simple and easy without a pattern. You can find some patterns online that you like. Then you can make some teeny tiny ones. Oh my goodness. And there's just such a variety of what you can do with these. So I hope you give this a try. This has been such fun to do. I'm so glad you joined me. Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure to share my quilting with you. And, we all learn something from this. So you have a fantastic day. And you know what? Have a fantastic holiday. Thanks for joining me.